Welcome to ePadasala lecture series in computer science. Last module we discussed some of the fundamentals of randomized algorithms. In this module we are going to discuss some additional randomized algorithms. The learning objectives of this module are as follows. We are going to understand the randomized algorithms. We are going to discuss a randomized algorithm for primality testing. We are going to discuss about how to compare two larger strings using randomized approach. We are going to discuss about the randomized quicksort. Probably in the last module you would have got some sort of an idea about randomness. So, we can recollect that randomness is a behavior which is not a deterministic. So, that means it is very difficult to predict this sort of randomness. Randomized algorithms are also called the probabilistic algorithms. We had seen in the last module that randomized algorithms use randomness as a computing tool for the algorithm design. So, we have seen that randomized algorithms are algorithms whose output is based on the random decisions. The output is based on the probability, and randomized algorithms are always associated with the outputs which is associated with some sort of a probability. So, there will be some sort of a negligible error on the long run. Last module we completed with the discussion of a hiring problem. I just want to recollect some of the facts. In hiring problem, you want to hire a secretary among a group of people. So, what you are trying to do is in deterministic algorithm, you are conducting the interview for all the people. So, initially you assume that the first candidate is the best candidate, then you hire her or him, then you interview the second candidate. If the second candidate is having the skill set better than the first candidate, then you hire the first candidate, then you uh, fire the existing best candidate, then you repeat this process till the end of the algorithm where all the people are interviewed. So, what we have seen is that interview cost is something that you can't avoid. You have to interview all the people, but you can certainly target about the hiring cost. So, what you can do is you can go for a randomized algorithm approach. So, the difference is in the first step where you are trying to randomly permutate array A. So, that means you try to generate some sort of a pseudo number, then you try to permutate the array A. A consists of all the indexes of the candidates. Once the order is shuffled, then you assume that the initial candidate as the best candidate, then you conduct interview. If the new candidate is better than the old candidate, then hire the new candidate. So, the key point is the randomization. We hope that this sort of shuffling the candidates would probably help in the long run. So, for that we require some sort of a randomized analysis. Randomized analysis is different from the probabilistic analysis. In probabilistic analysis, what you will do is you will use probability and then you will try to analyze the algorithm for all the different categories of inputs. Instead, in randomized analysis, what you try to do is you try to find some sort of the expectations. Based on the expectations, you will pass a judgment about the behavior of the randomized algorithms. Analysis is made possible by means of a variable called indicator random variables. Indicator random variables convert the probability and expectations. If you assume that the event is A, then you can say that the indicator variable is 1 if the event A occurs, 0 if the event does not occur at all. So, once you have this, then you can find the expectations. So, that means given a random variable x, you can compute the expectation of x using this particular formula, where you can find the probability of j, and based on that you can find the expectation, that is nothing but the average in the statistics. Fine. Let us return to the hiring problem. What is the indicator random variable? Indicator random variable for hiring problem is 1 if the candidate is hired, and 0 if the candidate is not hired. So, that means you do that for the first candidate, second candidate. Therefore, your x of I is nothing but x 1 plus x 2 plus x 3 up to x of n. So, that means this x of I is nothing but your indicator random variable. So, the analysis of the hiring problem starts like this. So, x I equal to indicator variable of the candidate I is hired. Fine. All the candidates have got equal opportunity. So, that means the probability of hiring is 1 by I, because it is probably likely for all the candidates. So, now what is the expectation of x? So, we have seen that x is nothing but the sum of x 1 plus x 2 plus x 3 up to x of n. So, this becomes the expectation of the summation of I 1 to n x of I. So, now you have the linear formula of expectation, where you can take E inside. So, this becomes a summation of I 1 to n, and it becomes E of x of I. E of x of I we have seen is nothing but 1 by I. So, that means if you simplify that, it comes to what you say log n plus order of 1. So, that means you can see that this is slightly better than your deterministic algorithm, where everything is order of n, but instead in randomized algorithm it is going to be order of log n. Suppose if you imagine that if the cost of hiring the candidate is r, then you will realize that if you are using the randomized algorithm, you will use the cost of r multiplied by log of n instead of r multiplied by n. So, that means the amount of fee that you consume as part of your randomized algorithm is lesser than your deterministic algorithm. In other words, this is how the randomized algorithms are analyzed. So, that means we have to create a variable for randomness, it is a random variable. Then we have to find the expectation of the randomized variable, then that expectation will give you the complexity of the given algorithms. So, based on this we can generate lots of algorithms. So, we are going to discuss some of the highlights of those important randomized algorithms. One algorithm is called the primality testing algorithm. What is a primality testing problem? Suppose if a number is given, you have to check whether that number is a prime number or not. You know very well, a prime number n is a prime only if it is divisible by 1 and n alone. So, that means if a number is given something like 13, so you have to apply the brute force approach, means you will start from 1, you can go up to 13, or preferably you can go from 2, because any number is going to be divisible by 1. Therefore, you start from 2 and then you go up to the square root of n. So, that means the root of 13. So, you try to go and you try to check whether the number is a prime number or not. This kind of deterministic algorithm is going to work for small numbers. For example, if the number is given as 27, you can easily apply the deterministic algorithm. On the other hand, if the number is very large, for example, you consider a number of length 45, like 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and all, then suddenly you have a biggest problem in your hand, because you can't apply the brute force approach for such a long number. In that case only you have to go for the randomized algorithm. What is the principle you can select? You can choose the design principle of concept of witness. So, that means you have to find a witness who can guarantee that the object x has got a property y. So, here the property is primeness. So, you take a number and you try to find a witness which guarantees that the number is not a prime number or it is a prime number. So, the whole thing depends on the statement of the witness. If you want to improve the quality, maybe you can repeat this for k trials, where you can choose k witnesses and you can guarantee whether the number is a prime number or not. But here is the problem. If you go for a witness which is equal to the number, then the algorithm suddenly degenerates into a deterministic algorithms. So, the logic is you should not choose k as a large number, but instead you have to choose k small number and you have to perform k trials, and if you find the witness which can guarantee that this number is prime or not, based on that you can declare the result. So, one of the important primality testing algorithm is based on the Fermat's approach. So, the Fermat's approach is like this: the number n is a prime if and only if the congruence of x power n minus 1 is congruent to 1 mod n. So, this is satisfied for x between 0 to n. This is the formula given by Fermat. Fine. So, what is the informal algorithm for this? The informal algorithm is like this. So, you read the number n, you select a witness x. So, witness is going to be generated in the range 1 to n. Then you check for the Fermat's criteria. Suppose if the number is found to be composite, that means if your witness is there which says that fine, the number is also divisible by other than 1 and n, the number becomes a composite. If the algorithm declares that this number is a composite, then it is always true, because there is a witness for that. Suppose if you choose k candidates and all candidates fail to prove that it is a composite number, then probably the number may be a prime number. So, this is the kind of Las Vegas algorithm you have for primality testing. So, this is the formal algorithm. So, its algorithm Fermat. So, you choose x in the range. So, if x power n minus 1 is not congruent to 1 mod n, that means it is a composite number, otherwise it is probably a prime numbers. Fine, what is the complexity analysis of this algorithm? The complexity analysis depends on k trials. As I said earlier, if k is a large number, then suddenly the randomized algorithm degenerate into a deterministic algorithm. So, the logic is you have to choose k as a very small number. Then if you see the algorithm involves squaring, multiplication and finding the modulo of numbers x, n, etc. So, you can see that the maximum size is log of that number. So, that means it requires order of log n steps. So, if you take k trials, you can see that the complexity analysis of this algorithm is order of k into log n. So, for a small number of k which is very negligible, then you can ignore that, you can say that it is of the order of log n. This is going to be the complexity analysis of this. Now, you can compare this with your deterministic algorithm. In deterministic algorithm, the algorithm is literally difficult to solve, because if the number is very large, then you have to start from n, you have to start from 2 and then you have to go up to root of n to find whether it is a prime or not, which is a very difficult proposition. Compared to that, order of log n is always better. Second algorithm which you can consider for randomized algorithm is the comparison of large strings. Imagine like this, you have two strings A and B. The strings are larger, consist of lots of strings in terms of characters, or better binary streams. Imagine like this, the stream A is something like 0 0 0 1 0 0 like that, and you have another string B which starts something like 1 0 0 0 etc. So, the given problem is you have to compare and then you have to say whether both strings are same or not. Fine. How do I proceed in deterministic approach? In deterministic approach, I will proceed something like this. I will go for comparison of character to character. So, this approach will work if the string is shorter, but on the other hand, if the strings are larger, then the computational complexity of the algorithm is very much larger. So, it is very difficult to solve this problem. So, this problem is a natural candidate for randomized algorithms. Fine, what is the design principle I can make use? I can go for a design principle called fingerprinting. What is a fingerprint? Fingerprint is a representative of the larger message. So, that means what I can do is I can use the fingerprinting concept and I can generate a fingerprint of the largest string. So, once I have the fingerprint, then the comparison of two strings is reduced to comparison of what is a fingerprints. Since the fingerprints are smaller in nature, the comparison can be easily accomplished in the fast manner. Fine, randomized algorithm will be something like this. I will choose a prime number which derived from n to n power k. So, here k is going to be a constant which is greater than 2. So, the logic is I have to use some sort of a algorithm using which I can find the fingerprint of message A as well as message B. Now, I have the fingerprints of the larger string A and B. So, now suddenly the comparison of the larger string is reduced to what is a check of equality using the fingerprints. Suppose if the fingerprint is same, then you can come to a conclusion that the algorithm says that two strings are similar, otherwise it is not. So, now you can see the formal algorithm. So, its algorithm random equal, you can see that I am taking the message A and B. So, P is selected from what is a 2 to n power k. So, this P is useful for generating the fingerprint for string A as well as B. So, this P we will use in some algorithm where we are going to find the fingerprint of message A and B. So, now what you do is you find the fingerprint, and if the fingerprints are same, then you can come to a conclusion that the strings are equal, otherwise it is not. What is the complexity analysis? The complexity analysis is like this. You can see that it depends on the values of m, n as well as p, and since we are going to use the binary notation, it can take at most order of log n bits. So, that means maximum steps that are required is order of log n. Of course, it is dependent on the trials also. So, if you say that if you are taking k trials, then you can see the algorithm reduces to order of k log n. If k is very small, then you can perhaps ignore that and the whole algorithm reduces to order of log n. So, this approach you can compare with the traditional deterministic approach. In traditional deterministic approach, the comparisons are always in the order of n. So, therefore, you can come to a conclusion that this is always a better algorithms. Now, we will take one more principle called random sampling and ordering. So, we will try to randomize the input distribution or order. We will use the concept of partitioning, ordering to create some algorithms. One of the primary algorithm which we are going to discuss is the randomized quicksort. We had already discussed quicksort as part of our divide and conquer strategy. Probably you can see we used Horace or Lomuto algorithm to find the pivotal element to partition the array into sub array. We recursively sorted all the sub arrays, and the sorted order is always the sorted order of your sub array and your pivotal elements. We had seen that in worst case the complexity of quicksort is order of n square, and in best and average case it is going to be what is a order of n log n. We can write a randomized algorithm for that. How? The logic is very simple. You can attack the pivotal concept. Instead of using a partitioning algorithm, what you can do is you can pick the pivot randomly. So, that means you remove the partitioning algorithm, but instead you pick the pivot element randomly. Once you have the pivot element, you can see that the array is divided into the sub arrays, then you try to recursively perform sort on the sub arrays. So, the algorithm is going to be something like this. You are taking an array with indices p and r as lower and upper limit. Then what you are trying to do is you are trying to pick a pivot randomly, then you are trying to interchange that element with a of r. So, now you see partitioning is done based on this. Now, you return the partition. So, the key difference you can see that instead of a deterministic quicksort, you are trying to what you say find the pivot element randomly. Once you have the pivotal element randomly, find your final quicksort algorithm becomes something like this. You partition that, then based on that you try to use that pivotal element for sorting your sub arrays. So, this is what your quicksort algorithm is going to be. So, you can see that this algorithm is almost similar to your deterministic algorithm, except that we pick the pivotal element randomly. Fine, how does it augur? You can see that the behavior of the algorithm is determined not only by the input, but also by the random choices of your pivotal element. So, that means the random choice is going to be more important. Fine, how the randomized quicksort augurs with the deterministic quicksort? Let us try to do the analysis based on this. First, we will have some notations. So, we will rename the elements of the array A as Z1, Z2 up to Zn. So, every Zi is having a rank of I. So, we try to define the set Zij, which consists of elements like Zi, Zi plus 1 up to Zj, and this includes all the elements between Zi and Zj, inclusive of Zi and Zj also. So, the basic of randomized analysis is indicator random variable. So, we had already discussed that this indicator random variable convert probability to expectations. So, recollect that for the event A, the indicator variable is going to be 1 if the event A occurs, otherwise it is going to be 0. Then you have to add everything, find average, that is what your expectation is all about. Fine. What is the indicator variable for randomized quicksort? So, it is going to be 1 if Zi is compared to Zj. So, that means the indicator variable is going to be 1 if Zi is going to be compared to Zj, otherwise it is going to be 0. So, what this analysis says, we have to find a total number of comparisons performed by the algorithm. If that is the case, if you add all the Xij for these I and j, you find the x, then you can find the expectation of this, which is going to be the final result. So, that means now you find the expectations, expectation is E of x. So, x already we have seen is the number of times your xi is compared with xj. So, now you can take E inside using the principle of the linearity of expectation. So, E goes inside. So, it becomes something like expectation of xij. So, this is nothing but the probability of what you say z I compared to z j. This is the expectations. Fine. Now, we can make some radical observations. How many times possibly this z I and z j will be compared? One case study is like this. Suppose if you choose an element between the range x I to x j, then z I and z j will never be compared. So, imagine like this, you have 14, you have 19 and you have 27. If you choose 19 as the pivotal element, then z I and z j will go to different lists where there will never be comparison between these two elements. This is your case 1. When the comparison is done, when z I or z j is chosen as a pivotal element, then z I and z j will be compared. So, that means only when either z I is z j is what is chosen as a pivotal element before any other element, then the comparison is being done. So, that means you can say that the probability of z I compared to z j is possible only when either of the element is chosen as the pivotal element, which is the possibility is 2 by j minus I plus 1. So, that means every thing z I, if it is chosen as a pivotal, it is 1 by j minus I plus 1, and if z j is chosen, it is 1 by j minus I plus 1. So, either means you have to add. So, it becomes something like 2 divided by j minus I plus 1. So, that means the expectation is you can see that summation of this probability. So, substitute this expression into this, and if you simplify that, you can see that it comes to n log n. In other words, the randomized quicksort is almost similar to your deterministic quicksort. So, that means you can see that randomized algorithm is as good as your deterministic quicksort. So, in short, randomized algorithms have got a proven record. It is very simpler, faster, and sometimes outperforms the deterministic algorithms. What is the summary? Summary is like this. Randomized algorithms are very effective, it is very faster, simple. So, often solves a problem with more accuracy. We had seen that primality testing can be done using the randomized algorithm very effectively. Similarly, we can also compare large strings using the concept of fingerprint, and randomized quicksort is also very effective. These are the references. Thank you very much